You can't have a holiday meal without dressing, and my sausage cornbread dressing is the bomb. This is Cooking with Sylv Mack. Hey everybody, welcome to Cooking with Sylv Mack, and today we're gonna make some dressing, and I can hardly wait because Thanksgiving is a time to give thanks. I also want to do a quick shout out to the Divine Nine. I am a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. But I want to say hi to my other brothers and sisters out in the Divine Nine. All right, so let's get started. So this dressing is a little bit complicated, but it's not too bad, so I don't want you to be like intimidated by it. There are lots of ingredients and lots of steps to it. However, I promise you, this is the best sausage dressing you have ever in your life had. And this is how I made it. Use whatever the recipe is that's on the cornmeal that you might buy at a store. However, the only adjustment that I do make is where it says the sugar, I only add about maybe a tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon. This will ask for like 1/4 of a cup. Just use like maybe a teaspoon. That's all the sugar that you need. But follow the instructions on making your cornbread. The other thing that you're gonna have to do is you're going to make your own croutons. So the croutons are gonna be made with delicious bread and butter. And we're gonna make that ourselves. This is how I did that. First, you're going to melt an entire stick of butter. Then next, we're going to brush all of the butter on the 6 pieces of thick Texas toast that we have on a cooking sheet. I know, it looks like a lot of butter, and it is, but you want to make sure that you use all of the butter on there. The bread is going to be sopping wet, and that's exactly what you want because we're making our own croutons. Next, you put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, you're going to flip the bread over as such, and then put it back in the oven for about another 4 minutes or so. Voila! You've got your own buttery croutons ready for the dressing. You want to just sort of pinch off from the entire roll of sage sausage and sort of make sure that it gets cooked all the way. So we're going to cook this until it gets nice and brown. So I just put the sausage in a paper towel in a bowl, let this drain, and now I'm going to cook the vegetables. It's bitter. So I'm going to go in and saute these in a little bit of olive oil, add the garlic, and then I'm going to add the stock to it and let that boil because that will ensure that the vegetables will be nice and tender because there's nothing worse than getting that crunch. I don't like it in my dressing. All right, the vegetables now have been sauteing for maybe about 7 or 8 minutes. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add the garlic. I'm gonna go on and add some liquid because the liquid will then make sure that the vegetables get nice and soft. So again, I've got this is my quasi measuring cup, but I've got about 2 cups of stock here. And you can just use regular chicken stock or chicken broth. I just like to use the Better Than Bouillon turkey base and then the Better Than Bouillon roasted garlic. So I put about maybe a tablespoon of each in here, and then I filled it up with hot water. And now I'm just gonna go on and add it to the vegetables so that they can get nice and soft. So I'm gonna let this simmer uncovered for maybe about another 10 or 15 minutes until the vegetables get really nice and soft. so now I'm gonna take the toast that we made, which is basically our own croutons, and I'm gonna break it up and put it into a blender or a food processor. See, I didn't pulse it too much. It still does have some big pieces in there, but I will just sort of break those apart. But I would say, let me show you the consistency of what I was looking for. So that's pretty good. So you can go in and then look at the really big pieces like this, and then just kind of break them up yourself so that it's a little bit more even. But you know, it's homemade, so it does not have to be perfect. But I'm telling you, the flavor is gonna knock your socks off. This is about the perfect consistency because it's nice. You want some chunks, but you don't want them like super, super big. Now we're going to do the same thing with the croutons. So we will add the bag, and it's only like, you know, a 5-ounce bag. We're just gonna pulse it a couple of times. And again, let me show you the consistency. Just wanted to break it down some, but you know, you don't want to ground it to like a perfect powder, because then that's just, I don't know. It's enough powder in there and enough big chunks, and then we're good, okay? So we've got our pan of cornbread right now. We're just kind of sort of cutting it up, very rough cut. Okay, so we're just going to sort of pulse it a couple of times. Again, you're not trying to, oh, this is the perfect consistency. So this is what you want for your cornbread. And if you have a big piece like this one, then we're just gonna sort of crumble it like that. But that's what you want for your cornbread. You see that? So now you want to kind of use your hands, whoops, and really dig in there and sort of mix it up. So now we've got our breadcrumbs, our toast, and also our cornbread. So now it's time to add the vegetables, the meat, and the soup and the liquid. Okay, so this is what your dry ingredients should look like. Now we're going to go in and add the meat. And we did like a roll and a half of sausage, sage sausage. Now, I will tell you this, I do like a roll and a half of sausage, and that's because I know that when I cook the sausage, my husband is gonna come in and eat some of it. So really, you're using about a roll, but he eats about half a roll while I'm cooking. And now, let's start adding the wet ingredients, okay? So we've got the cream of celery soup, and we're just gonna add the soup just like that. We also have cream of chicken soup, so we're just gonna add that. Okay, so now we have our vegetables that we're going to add, and these are hot, and they're nice and soft, so that we won't get that crunch. And remember, after I sauteed them, then I put about 2 cups of liquid in there to make sure that they were nice and soft. So now you want to give it a nice stir. And this is a little dry, and that's okay because we've got plenty of liquid that we're going to add to it. Plus, we're going to add some eggs so that it'll be nice and fluffy. So this is a little dry, and this is not how we want it to be. We want it to be nice and moist because then we're gonna bake it for about 45 minutes to an hour. And what I basically did, of course, is I've got some Better Than Bouillon turkey base, and I put like maybe a tablespoon in here, maybe with about 1.5 cups of hot water. So now we're gonna go in and add that. So by eyeballing this, I am going to say I need a little bit more liquid, and I'm probably going to put maybe, I don't know, another 1.5 cups to 2 cups of liquid because it's not quite as moist as I want it to be. So I'm gonna add some more liquid, and again, I am using the Better Than Bouillon turkey base. And I probably put like another tablespoon in here and then sort of mix it up with some warm water. So I'm gonna go in and add that. Maybe not all of it. And then I'm gonna mix it and just see if it is the consistency that I'm kind of looking for. And you see that sort of consistency, I guess? It's kind of hard to see, but you know, it's a little soupy, but not too soupy. Now, before I add the egg, I wanna sort of taste it a little bit and see what type of seasonings that I need. I don't wanna add the egg yet because that's raw and you don't wanna taste it then. So let me taste a little bit. Seasoning rather. And you sort of add it to taste. So I'm thinking like maybe a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. And then let's do some sage. And sage is kind of strong, so let's maybe do a half a teaspoon of sage. Then we're also going to do some pepper. And I would say, maybe about a half a teaspoon of pepper. And then you can use Lawry seasoning salt, but of course I'm stuck on this whole smoked salt. Oh my God, I'm telling you, smoked salt is the bomb. And it'll give it a nice little smoky flavor. So let's do about that much, which is about a teaspoon of smoked salt or Lawry salt. And just a little bit of red pepper flake. I would say like maybe like half a teaspoon. Just to give it a little oomph. I'm gonna put a little bit more pepper. And a little bit more sage. And remember, this will intensify once you cook it, right? So now I'm gonna go in and add the eggs because it is about where I want it to be seasoned wise. So I add the eggs, and I've got 3 eggs that I've already beaten, and I beat them pretty good too. You wanna get some air in that egg so that it will mix in with this, set it pretty nicely in addition to making it a little fluffy. So this is the consistency that you're sort of looking for. See if I can turn it this way. It's very soupy sort of kind of, but very, very thick. All right, don't laugh at me, but yes, I have the big roasting pan here. We all know that we had this growing up. So I like to spray it with some Pam. And then we're gonna go on and slide this in. It's heavy. This makes a lot. I don't know how to make a little bit of dressing because this has just been the recipe that I've always used. So I know that this Thanksgiving is a different Thanksgiving because most people are only having Thanksgiving for maybe 1 or 2 people, which that's what my husband and I are doing because of COVID. But I say this. Make this dressing. You can always freeze it. So this keeps really good up to about 2 or 3 months. You could pull it right from the freezer, thaw it out, make some gravy, and voila. You've got some dressing with either your pork chops or your baked chicken, your fried chicken, whatever you want to put it with. It is that good. All right, so I've got it in my pan now. What I'm going to do is put it into my oven for maybe about 45 minutes covered at 350 degrees. Then I'm gonna uncover it and let it brown a little bit. Okay, so I just pulled the dressing out of the oven. So now let's take a little taste. You can see that it's nice and fluffy and hot. Baby, this is so good. You don't even need any gravy, but I will put gravy on it, but light, fluffy, You can taste the sausage, all of the vegetables. Y'all have got to make this dressing. For this and all recipes, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, Cooking with Sylv Mac. Tell a friend. You too will be able to shake your head and enjoy this wonderful, wonderful food.